I'm having some major food body problems, as Maharaj would say today. I've been sick for the last couple of days, so
Oh, dear.
we might cut this off short, or we'll see how it goes.
Oh, you're in
Okay.
pain. Look like you're in
No, I'm not in pain. I'm just my head's stuffed up, and I just don't feel good. I was sleeping like the last 24 hours, so I missed work today, and but I thought I'd get up and just see how this went, and because I should get back to the office as fast as possible. So.
Was it a cold?
It's I don't know. It's I'm taking Alka-Seltzer cold medicine for it, and honey lemon echinacea ricola cough drops because there's a little cough and scratchy throat and just food body problems. A disturbance in the 5 elements.
I haven't had many colds since wearing a mask over the past few years, and but I just did get over one, and I was able to fight it off with the Zicam stuff. So it didn't really get me down too much.
I'm down pretty well. Like I said, I hibernated all day.
Yeah.
On Monday I went to work, but it was online, and then at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I just kind of shut down the computer and everything, sat in my chair, and then was in and out of consciousness until like 2 o'clock this afternoon. So, wake up, use the restroom, wake up, take more medicine, cold, okay, wake up, do this and that. So that's it.
John, did you test for COVID?
No, I don't think it's COVID, but
okay.
I don't know. I'm not I don't think it's COVID.
Okay.
Anyways, a remarkable voice today. Huh?
It's what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just.
Just spontaneously appeared, just like everything else.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to cancel it, but honestly, I didn't have the energy to get online and cancel it. So I said, okay, we'll come here and see what happens, and then see where we are.
John, when this body uneasiness, ill feeling happens, this happens to the entity and the consciousness, not to the selfless self, John.
Well, the you that you are is untouched. You're observing the sickness in the body. The sickness is a state that's appeared on the body, basically.
Yes.
And it's just like if you were driving your car and it started sputtering and it wasn't driving at an optimum rate, you would notice that your car is not driving at an optimum rate. And you take it to mechanic or whatever and get it fixed. And in this case, it's the hibernation really helps a lot, just shutting down the body completely, and then kind of rebooting. And okay, so the only question is, did I reboot too early, or will this be okay now and we'll just continue about? But either way, the you that you are is not experiencing being sick. You can be sick in your dream and then wake up totally fine. We had talked about when you're swimming in a dream, you're totally wet. You're out of breath. You wake up, you're in your bed. You're not wet and you're not out of breath. Or maybe you are out of breath because you've carried over mentally some of the experience that you believe to be true in your dream.
But during the swimming, it's quite convincing. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
I did some cold water swimming today. That's something I've been training lately. And I really definitely have the impression that the water was very cold and I was experiencing cold and it felt like suffocating and was very impressive.
But you can always find that inner core where it's untouched. Even in like some kind of tragedy or situation, some kind of emergency situation, you can always find that core in you which is not being touched by the outside seeming circumstance. And then sort of move from that space so that you're not, there's no panic, there's no, you know, even if you're cold, okay, yeah, you're cold, but there's a core of you that understands that there's no hot, no cold. And that the formlessness that you are is basically just receiving signals from this meat suit, so to speak, with all the nerves and all this sort of stuff. And the transmission is cold. And then the thought comes, I am cold. But until the thought comes, I am cold, there's no one there to kind of claim being cold. There's just sensations of being cold, but not an I am cold. As soon as that I am cold is impressed, then there's like almost a searching for how am I cold? Like I'm really cold. I'm shivering. I feel my body shivering. But in reality, this outer layer is having just nerves and all this sort of thing and is responding to the environment. But you're actually the background in which the environment is moving and being created. So you're neither hot nor cold, because the formlessness, the space, again, the space in Antarctica and the space in a volcano, you can say that the air is hot and cold, but the space in which the air is able to be perceived is neither hot nor cold. It has no attributes. And that's why you know yourself in a real sense. There are no attributes. There's no attribute of hot or cold, big or small, alive or not alive, or any of these things. Is without attribute. And we say without attribute without trying to create a concept of being without attributes. When you remain with your selfless self, that center, that core that you are, in which all of everything else is perceived as other or as something, you can just know.
You just know that that's present.
Well, that's how you know you exist, because it's, again, it's knock, knock at the door. Is anybody home? No, nobody's home. Oh, but somebody had to be home to say nobody's home. When all the people in the room leave, it's an empty room, but unless someone is there to see the last person leave, they wouldn't know it's empty room or not empty room. So you're basically the 10th man. You know, you're not counting yourself. Because you perceive all these things that are not yourself, you forget that, oh, I'm none of these things, therefore I have to be just myself, which is non-dual, because all of the things that are appearing with the concept of duality. Without the concept of duality, you are just yourself. And with the concept of duality, you are just yourself. However, you get to play in the dualistic notion of I, me, mine, and you and he and she and it and all that sort of thing. When you remain with your selfless self, no I, no me, no he, no she, no it, no nothing is there.
John, when
Yes.
the car example, it's so easy to understand. I get in the car, I get out, but this body, I don't feel I'm getting out of it. So sometimes, do you have any suggestion? You feel the body. Car, I get in, so I know that I'm not the car. I have experientially, I get in and get out. In this body, I'm not able to get in and get out feeling.
Well, you could say when you're dreaming at night, you know, you're getting out of the vehicle that is the body.
That's true.
Because
It's
you're
sleeping.
creating a formlessness.
Yes, yes.
And creating another dream world in which you're taking another body.
Yes.
So you are basically exiting this vehicle and going into
Yes, that's true.
another
Thank you.
vehicle,
Thank you.
basically.
Yes.
But you don't experience this exiting, because when you're in deep sleep, you have no experience.
Exactly.
So you know you're exiting, but still in my case, it does not impress. I have heard this example from Ramana Maharshi, from Ramakant Maharaj, but still it does not impress. I've been listening to these teachings for 5 years now, and I understand them on an intellectual level quite perfectly, sometimes even on an emotional level. And I've been doing the mantra for hours on it every day, and meditation and bhajans. But still, I have the impression it does not really impress. So when I jump into the cold water, I have the impression I'm suffocating. And I might have the thought, it's only a thought, and it's only the body. But that's, in my experience, it's just theory. It's just conceptual. It's just thinking. It does not impress on a direct level until now.
Oh, and see, when you don't know that you're dreaming until after the dream is over, and you say, oh, I had a very good dream. So the same, once you know yourself in a real sense, you can discard this body-based existence instantly. Oh, none of that was true. And you know this because you remain in mantra. When you're sitting with mantra, slowly, silently, permanently, you're erasing all the concepts. And then you have this clear kind of recognition in the projection, which is felt as a sense of presence. And there you just, oh, okay. Now you could say presence is myself. This presence that I feel is more me than the body that I appear to be using. And so now you're identified with presence, and presence, again, will eliminate a lot of the attributes that you've held on to of being a body, because presence is formless. The entire world is appearing on presence. So when you're in a situation, even when you're in the situation of the cold water and you're not able to breathe, of course you want to not die, you want to move your arms and such, but you're knowing this is like, there's a center. There's a center from within you that's not cold, that's not moving, and that does not breathe, that does not need breath, and is not wet. And from here, now you proceed. After some time, if presence, you're identified with presence as yourself, you're going to understand that I'm the knower of this sense of presence. For presence to be known, there has to be a knower, and that is, I am, that is myself. Presence is the first object, so to speak, that can be known. And that's what created the duality. The whole entire dualistic world is projected on spontaneous presence. And you're out of it. Whether presence is there or not, you are, because for presence to be, you had to be there to experience the sense of presence, the sense I exist. That which existed had to exist to experience I exist. So whether the sense of existence is there or not there makes no difference. And there's a certain freedom in that, because you're no longer grasping and you're no longer trying to acquire. And you're no longer even on a spiritual journey, because you're just content with your own selfless self.
Well, I can believe that this is true for you, but I cannot realize it for myself. I can believe that it is true on a conceptual level, but still I cannot realize it for myself. I've been listening to these talks for 5 years now, and I do believe that it's true for you. I know your story, and from all the indications which you have told, I'm quite sure it's true for you. But even when I hear you speaking, I can believe it, just like I would believe a preacher in a Catholic church or so. But it does not touch down.
You have to have the internal experience yourself. Like, that's why Maharaj says meditation is the most important, because we can sit and speak about all these things and what the experience is and how the non-experience is experienced. But now the ball is in your court.
Yes.
You sit there and you just sit quietly, and not with an intent to know yourself. The simplicity of the mantra is, and I'm sure you've heard Maharaj say this, you're giving toys to the children to play so that mother can make the dinner. And what this is meaning is you're giving these toys, this mantra for the mind, so that you can actually concentrate on your own selfless self without being caught up in the mind, the ego, the intellect, the thinking process.
Well, maybe my mistake is I have been sitting for hours on end in meditation. So I try to be obedient to Maharaj's instruction. So I retired from work 5 years ago, so I could meditate all day long. I really did that sometimes for 10 hours in a row. But still it did not work in a way. Maybe my mistake is just that I use this toy and try to make the dinner myself. So
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is you don't have to sit for meditation. You don't have to. You can be in your daily activities and have the mantra running constantly, just sitting there, going outside, taking a nice walk out in nature or out in the city, wherever you might be, and mantra, and just concentrate on the mantra. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Mantra, walking around, doing your activities. It's not necessary to sit because we don't want to make sitting for meditation into an egoistic kind of a chore or something that I'm doing. It's so dangerous to sit there and say, I am meditating for all this time and I am doing this and I am doing that, because you're sort of reinforcing the fact that this meditator that should be dissolving within the meditation is actually taking a stance within the meditation as an excellent meditator or someone who's really trying to meditate. So it might be good to use mantra and just go out, go grocery shopping, go here, go there, all these different places, just mantra. And then observe kind of that, wow, I'm not thinking about what I'm doing and I'm not thinking about the steps that I'm taking, but somehow I'm quite nicely moving along the path or in a market and I'm just moving about and I'm not really thinking of myself or the day or even that I'm meditating. I'm just sort of lost in my own selfless self. Because until that sense of presence can be felt and reflected in mind as I exist or I am or so that I, then there's not a lot that you can sit there and say, okay, now I'm concentrating on the concentrator. Because now there's a center of concentration that really isn't a center anymore. There's something there, this sense of presence. And I meditate on that sense of presence until that sense of presence dissolves the concept of being a meditator. Now, as far as going in the everyday world, perhaps sitting for long hours in meditation is not the answer. Meditate all the time. I think it was St. Francis who said, pray ceaselessly. And that's basically what we're doing when we're concentrating on the mantra. We're no longer separating it as this is the time for meditation and this is the time when I'm doing all my other activities. Like I have to put on my worldly hat, so to speak, in order to go to work. No, you don't. You can quite easily have meditation all the time. I think, because you mentioned Ramana Maharshi said, in the case of someone who's sick, everything they're doing is in that sick state. They're eating their lunch in the sick state. They're going on their walk in their sick state. They're sleeping in their sick state. All of this is in that sick state. Well, in the same way, all of this is in your own selfless self. Whether you're traveling in traffic, going on vacation, enjoying a TV, enjoying lunch, walking, all of these things, you're praying ceaselessly. Selfless self-devotion, mantra. This sense of existence, however subtle it is, this is where the attention goes, and it stops going out to all these seeming things that are crying for attention that you know are not true. Everything that's not true needs attention. and it needs your attention in order
Yes.
to appear true. And everything that's true, there's no attention, because everything that's true is not an appearance. It's the reality. You just remain with yourself of self.
I see someone here nodding. There seems to be a recognition of what you say.
Yes,
some
yes, I mean,
other participant.
really.
And another one also.
For me, John, the dream, if I can use my dream to the waking dream, I'm done. I mean, many times when I get caught up, I bring my dream. How quickly I discard my dream when I wake up. I know it is not true. John and all the masters are telling the same thing in the waking dream. Why I cannot just take that my dream experience, personal dream to this, and I'm done. That's where I'm very much get out of it when I get caught. Why should I even care what happens here? This is not true. This cannot be true. If my dream is not true, this cannot be true. So that's where I feel helps me a lot, John. You talking about dream helps me so much. And these satsangs can't take it for granted, because when a live master, sitting with a live master is so important, though we may not know. So I'm extremely grateful for this opportunity, John. Thank you.
Somehow that the value of this us being here is kind of felt internally. It's not like when I do something that I'm interested in, say put on music or something for a purpose of an experience, which I'm I mean, my body is always doing that. It's always concerned with what it's experience, whether something tastes good or not. And I'm always biased towards something that feels good. And then, like if I do experience something bad, like being cold, well, I don't like to be cold at all. So, I seem to know that that's something that I don't like, but but it's the uh, it's the it's the that it seems to be, as soon as I know the difference between value, then it's no longer just internal. It becomes mixed with external, and subject and object experience gets involved, and then it becomes like almost like that's the self I that I think about, the I that I'm thinking about takes over and or is dominating, whereas the just the appreciation of just being here, that doesn't depend on that. And I noticed, like last night, related to what John was saying, something about experiencing coldness. I don't like coldness, and last night I was going through my activities, and it was on the cool side, and but I didn't really have to. It wasn't cold enough to make me have to do something about it, so I was just like tolerating it. So actually, uh, when John said that there is a space that's unaffected, so I guess I was sort of mixing what I was sort of in that space, because I was tolerating the coolness. I was just, wasn't really bothering me. Sometimes it would come to mind. Then I thought, well, I don't really have to do anything. I don't have to, it's really not that bad or whatever. So related to, there's point or presence that's, I don't know. The thing is, I can't objectify it, so I can't say that's myself. I can't say it's myself, and that it is that um, unaffected space. But I guess, and if I do want to call that, make an object out of that unaffected space, then I'm going back to making a subject object out of myself. But like what I'm get what from what uh, Mahesh is just that the appreciation, it's just something inside of me that I can relate to self with self, because it's just it's like a love of being, appreciation, something. It's, but it's not necessarily related to the knowing the appreciation. It's just appreciation itself or something. Does that does appreciation like that, John? Does that you think indicate uh, any kind of like freedom from subject and object? It's just appreciation of being.
I mean, selfless self devotion is to be constantly remaining with your selfless self. You could say it's I don't know about appreciation, but like
Feels
you are, you're worshiping your own selfless self by remaining with your selfless self and
there's joy,
knowing
there's some kind of
that
joy.
is all there is.
Isn't that
Hmm?
some kind of joy involved? Isn't there?
Selfless self intoxication, yeah, the more you remain with your selfless self until such a time that, like, see, again, we're talking about while I still have a tinge of the body that I can feel the presence, and while I'm still kind of using the body as a cup to dip into the nectar of immortality and say, oh, I can feel this selfless self. It feels very good. I'm enjoying this. You're training your mind, so to speak, to desire the feeling of your own selfless self, the sense of presence, the sense of existence, more than any of the other outside things. So you're remaining there. And that selfless self intoxication is very good for a time. This will lead you to the knowledge of, oh, so that I am that, because the knower of the knowledge of I exist is your own self. And this knowledge I exist or something has appeared to that nothing.
Then it becomes self-evident, kind of.
Yeah, of course. Again, if the knock, knock on the door, who's there? Nobody's there. Well, somebody had to be there to say nobody's there.
It's like there can be no other way.
It
There
is
are
absolutely self-evident to sit here in deep meditation and to sense this very, very subtle, just die, this sense of presence. Now, who is sensing this sense of presence? Where is that? You are self-evident. Oh, so that I am that. More subtle than the sense of presence in which all this world has appeared. You are not body, you are not body, you're not going to remain the body. Body's not your identity. You throw away all body-based knowledge, all body-based relations. Of course, you still have family, do your job, do your duties, take care of your responsibilities. Don't tell your family that, oh, you're nothing to me because I'm formless. No, because in reality, your family is within you. So that's about as close as you can get. They are your own self. That formless presence that's animating these lumps of goo, believing itself to be separate, is all you. Again, going back to the dream, when you lay down in a dream and all the dream characters are carrying on their business and what they're doing, when you wake up, you know it all came from you. Any of the conversations you had, any of the movement that was going on, the good things, the bad things, whatever the dreaming was, it was all you. And we had talked about before, if you could dream like for a very long time, And you dream about two little kids, and they're growing up friends, and they go off to college and they meet girlfriends, and then they decide to get married, and all this sort of thing. And then you wake up, like, what happened to these guys? They had this life up until college. They worked hard in college, and then that's it. They're done. They're gone. And was that fair to them? Was their entire life for nothing because they grew up and they played together and they had all this fun and they did all these things, and then they got to college and you woke up. We never know what is happening left. So did they get cheated in life?
No.
Because they never were.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, as soon as somebody, say you went to college, those people were in your presence for the moment when you were in class with them or in contact with them, and then you go on, you moved some, you just turn your head away and they're gone. It's not like
they weren't in class with you.
It's like they're as good as dead anyway.
They weren't in class with
you. As
you.
soon as they disappear out of your awareness.
In a dream, all the people that were in class were all your own self. They weren't in class with you because you're not an object. Although you appeared to be one for a short time within the dream so that you could pretend to be going to school and have a class within the dream. But when you woke up, it was all not true. See, there is no local identification. And as soon as that clicks, by remaining with your selfless self, you understand there's no local identification. That means if I think I'm thinking, I'm actually thinking the world. Because there's no local identification that everything is thought process is going on within this. Because I'm not body. You are not body. This body is occurring within you. You are not in it. The waking consciousness and the dream consciousness are exactly the same. One consciousness. Objects are appearing and disappearing.